Don't forget, ko-fi.com/stopwritingalone is a real simple way to show your support for what's going on here week after week. Hi, everyone. This is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast for writers who are looking for their writing community. I know you want to find readers for your work, but I think your first step is to connect with other writers. That's what we're going to do here in the Stop Writing Alone podcast. We'll do writing prompts and other writing group activities, discover online writing communities, learn how to find local writing groups, or how to make your own. Join us as we explore, learn, and write. Hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. One of the things I packed on my trip, my family vacation this month is the, let's call it what it is, the zero draft, the -1 draft of the Stop Writing Alone book. And I've spent some time, in some free moments rereading it and going through it. And there's so many different topics that I attack in the book. But one of them that I wanted to bring up in this week's podcast is the idea of dropping competition for the sake of community. It's a very sort of interesting sort of release that I think once you truly embrace it, if you really want to stop writing alone, if you want to have a healthy writing community or a healthy relationship with a fellow writer, I think one of the things that you not only have to consider, but you have to truly embrace is dropping the idea that you are competing with your fellow writers. And so I'm going to read to you from my zero draft. And so I anticipate that whenever this book does get completed and published, it won't sound exactly like this, but here's a little excerpt of what I've been working on, and at least one section where I'm talking about this idea of competition. Let's first address competition. This is an incredibly difficult thing to let go of when hanging out with your peers. When you get together with fellow writers, there are going to be some things that you are equally striving for: agent representation, publication, accolades, reviews, sales, social media status, rankings, the list goes on. As one writer achieves a goal that you too have on your list, but has been, for whatever reason, slightly out of your reach, how do you relieve the sting? How do you continue to show up and be genuinely happy for your colleague when you can't help but feel envious? There are a couple of things I keep in my pocket for these occasions. The first is a pretty famous quote by Theodore Roosevelt. Competition is the thief of joy. When I feel the envy creep in and I think of this quote, I am often calmed because it gives me a moment to see the joy I might have missed. When a friend succeeds, you succeed. If you have truly stopped writing alone, then you can't help but feel the same level of joy for a friend's success as you would your own. And I promise you, when you allow for that possibility, it will be there. The next time you feel envious of anyone, even if it's some huge best-selling author you don't know personally, I want you to stop for a moment and ask yourself, what would it feel like right now to be a part of this celebration instead of envious of it? Because that is what happens when you cast aside competition. You get to join all the parties. It's actually kind of fabulous. You doubt me, or at least someone does. Oh, wait, I know. That's me. Well, it was me. Even though I had intellectually grasped the concept of competition being the thief of joy in certain situations, I was unable to let go of one core truth about myself. I am a competitive person. soccer, softball, swimming, all teams I was a member of, I repeatedly left all my spirit in the sport for the love of competition. Board games? Do not get me started. My husband and I had to actively start researching competitive play games because typical board games were leading to uncomfortable nights after what was supposed to be play. When I play video games, I curse so much. It is as if I invented an entirely new vernacular for myself. And as a fan, I have put myself on a multi-year ban from watching my favorite home baseball team because I do believe it was harming my health. Find another Mets fan. They will confirm this is not hyperbole. This is all to say that I have a very deep-rooted competitive spirit. So there was a time when I wasn't actually keen on buying it being a complete thief of my joy. Competition, I believe, is a very good thing. The thing we have to remember when we stop writing alone is that competition has a time and place. Did you pick up on the theme of all the places where I love to be and feel competitive? They are all games. Competition belongs in play. While our writing can be fun and wordplay is a huge part of it, your writing life and writing growth is not a thing for you to play with. As I explained earlier, it's a thing you need to nurture and care for. You can enjoy the process, but you should grant it the respect and seriousness it deserves. When you can release the feeling of competition in your writing community, it immediately fosters the safe space everyone needs for mutual growth. Anytime I see author buddies, as a YA fan, I see so much writing support between various groups of writers, whether it's in their social media presence or on panels at various conventions. There is so much love and cheerleading going on for one another's books. I often have to remind myself that they, to some eyes, would be seen as competitors. Perhaps you see them that way too. Here's why I don't, and I believe they don't. I've given up the scarcity mindset. So here's the thing. Human beings are, in their very nature, social beings. We need each other. Anthropologists know this. Psychologists know this. Let's face this, we all kind of know this. However, at times when we get around each other, competition very much gets in the way of us maintaining civil relationships with one another. Competition that is rooted in scarcity mindset. Imagine we are all starving. No food to be found at all for weeks. It's you, me, and 30 other people stuck in a room without food. Then a mysterious door opens and someone drops a cheese sandwich in. One solitary cheese sandwich. All hell would break loose. I'd be sobbing in the corner. My gluten-free, dairy-free insides would be at war with my starving self. I wonder why my imagination has put me in this hypothetical situation at all. I could have said an apple was thrown in the door. Why didn't I say an apple? In this horrific scenario, we would rightfully, I think, turn on each other. There was a clear and present scarcity of food in our mindset. Some part of our brain is always on the lookout for this and ready to battle. And as smart as our brains are, sometimes they go a bit overboard. Let me use the example of this book you are reading right now. A book about writing and finding writing community. I have decided to devote my time and energy on writing and publishing a book on this topic. Have I done this because I believe it is the first of its kind and no other book like it has ever been written? Do I believe this book is the cheese sandwich being thrown in the room of starving people? No, of course not. The amount of books on writing I own is hilarious. The amount that I haven't even yet heard of is awe-inspiring. There is no lack of books on writing. However, as an author wishing to sell books, my scarcity mentality can truly threaten me if I think about people who will want to buy and read such a book. I may start to feel competitive when it comes to other writers who write such books. I may want to come out and tell writers why my book is so much better than theirs, why they should buy my book instead of theirs. It's what most of our television commercials do, right? But here's the thing. The people buying books on writing are not just buying one book on writing and then never ever buying another book on writing. This goes for all of our writing. You are not in competition with any other writers, ever. Even if you and a writing friend wrote 2 different books about very similar subjects, let's say you both had amazing stories about the scarcity of foodstuffs, and you came up with a world in which cheese sandwiches came to the rescue, but your friend had a completely different, but maybe not so different, tale in which apples saved the day. Here's the thing that's going to happen with your readers. A person buys your friend's book and loves it. They finish the book and write to your friend. Dear author, I loved your book so much. Please write another one. I can't believe I never thought about the horror of food scarcity in this way. I want more, more, more. Your fan for life, reader. Your friend is already neck deep in their next writing project that has absolutely nothing to do with this same topic and world, but she knows about your book. She can write back to her fan and tell her about your book. There is no scarcity in writing. Readers love books. If they buy one, they'll buy another. If you maintain friendships with fellow authors, you will have a more direct path to their readers and vice versa. Leaving competition and scarcity mindset at the door will do nothing but benefit everyone, writers and readers everywhere. And I'm going to stop there because then I continue on about what happens next once we drop the scarcity mindset, we drop the competition, and we continue to create safe spaces for us and our writer friends, and how important safe spaces are when we are finding our community. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I was just going to talk to you guys about dropping competition for the sake of community. And I was going to talk off the cuff. And then I remembered that I had these typed pages right here sitting next to me. And I said, why not give everyone a sneak peek of my first draft typings? So yeah, I don't know if the cheese sandwich scenario will stay in there, and I have no idea if this whole section will stay in there because, as you know, fellow writers, things can end up looking very, very different after a couple of rewrites, and that is literally first version printed out, brought with me on a trip. So, and I actually didn't even get to the point where I'm rereading that yet. There's no pen marks on that just yet, and a bunch of typos that I did not. Maybe I should have read my typos verbatim for you. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a really, really big fan of dropping competition when we can, and which is most of the time in favor of celebrating one another's wins and just celebrating one another and being in community in that way. There's so much opportunity for growth when we do that. And just in case anybody was feeling either envious of a fellow writer, or like I said in the writing, it could be even, some best-selling author that you follow along and you're saying, why are they going there and I'm not there yet? we don't have to live in that space all the time. It's not necessarily going to serve us. It's very rare, as far as I can see, when we are actually in competition with fellow writers. And in fact, the thing that inspired this entire conversation and thought in my mind is that this weekend, I believe it's this Friday, I'm participating in another NYC Midnight competition, and it's what is it this time? The 100-word story, which I don't want to say I'm terrible at. I'm still learning. I'm still learning my way through microfiction. So I don't have very high aspirations for how I will do, but I'm throwing my hat in the game again. But I was thinking about it as it was coming up to this episode because I'm not doing it alone. There's a bunch of writers in the Stop Writing Alone community that we all sort of said, did you see it's coming up? Let's sign up. Let's do it. And this is actually an instance where we are all going into a writing contest. So in some kind of way, we are competing against each other. But even in this moment, it doesn't feel that way to me at all. I feel like so awesome. It's just always been so much fun to do these competitions with fellow writers because we're like in it together. So we're given a very short amount of time to do these stories. And I did go through my process for doing the NYC Midnight short story on a previous episode. And one of the things I mentioned there as part of my process is sort of like bouncing the stories off of other people that are familiar with the contest. I couldn't do that if we weren't all doing it together. So, that'll probably happen this weekend as we all write our 100-word story. Chances are sometime Saturday or, I think we have 48 hours. Maybe it's just 24 hours. Sometime this weekend, there's going to be a bunch of messages between us where we're reading 100 words back and forth to each other or sending files back and forth saying, can you read mine? Can you give me some feedback? And if we were in the truest sense of like competition, we'd be like, I'm not going to help you. And that, like, what does that do for anyone? So, I love it. Even when you're in a writing competition, there's so much room for community within the members there. So embrace it. And this is coming from someone, as I said, who adores competition. But there's a time and place for it. And when it comes to our growth in our craft, it doesn't necessarily serve us best at all times. So just wanted to share that with you, but I am going to wrap this up because I'm super tired and I'm going to go rest. And this week on the Envy Rivera YouTube channel on Friday Night Writes, I am going to be sharing an exercise from one of the books that I brought with me on this trip. If you've been following the Stop Writing Alone Instagram page, chances are you've seen a couple of snapshots out of it. It's called Words in Progress, and I discussed last week the books we bring, the books we buy, and there's a bunch of exercise in this, so I'm going to share one of those. So if you want to see and practice one exercise from the book, make sure you tune in over at Envy Rivera on YouTube this Friday night. Otherwise, the next time we will chat will be next Thursday. Also, coming up this week on Tuesday, May 18th, there will be a live write-in in the Stop Writing Alone community. So go check that out as well. But have a fantastic week and happy writing, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the Stop Writing Alone podcast wherever you're listening to this episode today. Then connect with us on Facebook at Stop Writing Alone Facebook page or in the Stop Writing Alone with Nicole Rivera Facebook group. Check Instagram or Twitter where I'm at NV_Rivera to find links to our email newsletter. Recording, hosting, editing, producing. It's so much work. Disaster has struck. I finished my coffee. Tell me coffee is coming. ko-fi.com/stop writing alone.